of Life's child, you would have ended King David's life before he was ever born. Now, there's more, because that means that David's children, including Solomon, who wrote Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, would never have been born. But wait, there's more also. Because none of his descendants would have been born. His children, his great-grandchildren, his great-great-grandchildren. And can I remind you that Jesus Christ comes from the line of David? And if David has not been born, does that mean Jesus never comes? See, here's the thought I want you to think. We think, well, it's just one life. No, it's not just one life. When you take a life, you wipe out an entire genealogy. Every person that would come from that person down the line, all the way down to end of time, is now not coming. They're gone. They won't come. They can't. Because one decision was made in why. It didn't end one life. It ended an entire genealogy. We need to think of that. In Psalms 139:14, it says, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. He starts thinking about life, about how he began. And David comes to this point, I will praise you. And maybe he's looking at his hands. And stop and look at his hands and go, wow, all the things I can do and have done with these. And as a musician as well who played the instruments, he said, look at how you designed me. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. It's just not a head knowledge, it's a soul knowledge with it. I know that I'm special deep down. God reveals that to us in our inward parts. We are designed by an incredible God, and we do have reason to praise Him. And He says, I will praise you. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Just look at this. My soul knows full well how marvelous your creation is. As we stop, we look at a newborn baby. It's amazing. People are amazed by it. Amazed. I hear them say, oh, look at that little pinky toe. Look at the fingernail. It's just so, you look at them, they're so adorable. They're so loving. And I don't know how doctors who rip them apart in their mother's womb can do it. I honestly, I don't know. I know some who have changed their mind and got out of it. One woman in Texas who was a director of Planned Parenthood, several places, was asked to go in and assist with abortion one day. And she went in and she walked out and she said, I will never, ever be a part of that again. It's horrible. It's taking of human life. In Jeremiah 1:5 it says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. So even before they're born, God knows them, has a plan for them. He says, before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you as a prophet to the nations. So before life comes into being, God has a purpose and a plan for every single life He creates. How many of you want to destroy God's plan and God's purpose? I wouldn't want to. But it happens. I remember in Genesis you're reading through, and there's Shiphrah and their Puah, that they're supposed to kill the babies on the birth stool, that Israel's getting too numerous and the king is threatened by them, and he gives this command that, you know what, I want you midwives, when the children come out, when you see that they're a male child, kill them. If they're a female, let them live. And Shiphrah and Puah feared God, and they didn't honor Pharaoh's command. And Pharaoh came later and said, what in the world are you doing? I told you to kill. If it's a male child, don't let them live. And they lied. They did. They said, listen, Pharaoh, I don't know what to tell you except these Jewish women, these Hebrew women, they're more vigorous than the Egyptian women. That's it. They're gone. By the time we get there, they're gone with their baby. They call us and they're gone. Well, Pharaoh not knowing so much, he said, okay, maybe that's why they're growing so fast. They just pop out. But he gives a new command. If you see a male child, throw him in the Nile. If you see any baby boy in Egypt that's Hebrew, every citizen has a responsibility to take it and throw it in the Nile to end his life. And that was a command of the day, to destroy life. Moses survived that time. See, Moses survived because his mother followed Pharaoh's instructions, but Pharaoh didn't say you couldn't use a basket. So she placed her son in the Nile River. But once again, there was no, you can't use a basket when you do it. So she put him in a basket, floated down. Pharaoh's daughter found her, and we know the story. His name is Moses because he's drawn from the water. And he grew up and became a deliverer of Israel. Do you notice when someone important is about to come, there's a verdict to kill them, the children? During Moses' day, there's a verdict to kill the male children. Herod found out a new king was born. He wanted all the children killed 3 years and under. And I have to wonder, who's coming next that Satan's so afraid of that he wants to destroy them? Because the other times, he tried to destroy them outside the womb. He said, this time I'll destroy them in the womb. Since the 70s, it's been legal, 73, to have an abortion. Who does he not want to come into the world? Who is he afraid of that he wants to exterminate before they have life? It's got to be something pretty important. See, God has a purpose, a plan for each person he creates, and it doesn't mean every single person will live out God's will. It means they have the opportunity to, but we have a free will that they can choose not to as well. They can choose to live it out or not to live it out, and that's on them, and they'll stand before God and they'll give account for the life that they live. But they should be able to stand and give an account for how they lived. I don't think they should be terminated before they're born. In Psalm 139:15, it says, my frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest part of the earth. David is just thinking through the process of conception and putting words to it. Understands that God, you saw me. Before my mother knew she was pregnant, you knew I was there. I was made in secret and skillfully wrought deep inside. But you knew, because you know all things. You knew my being. You saw my frame. It wasn't hidden from you. When those two cells came together, you knew that, and you put them together, and you knit one entirely new person out of these two cells. You did that. Deep in secret. And he didn't say how he did it. He just said, you do it. And you skillfully wrought. You put this together as a masterpiece. In 39:116, it says, your eyes saw my substance, yet being unformed. And your book, they were all written, the days fashioned for me, when yet there were none of them. See, God knows every detail about every single person. He knows the number of the hairs on their head. He knows the number of days He's given to them. He knows everything about them. What He doesn't know is why He would like to take them before they come to being. I don't know. That's what He doesn't know. Why? That's what I don't understand. Why? Because God saw their substance. Being unformed, He knew them. And He had a plan for them. And in His book, He had all the days written, how long they would live. Everyone gets a different amount of days. Some live to be well in their 90s. I've done funerals for children. I've done funerals for adults. And I can tell you, every single person has a set number of days predetermined for when it comes into being. Now, Tony Evans, he talked about this briefly also. He was talking about people and length of days and people being late. And he talks about death. He says God has a plan for every life, and He knows when they're going to live and when they're going to die. He says, now, ladies, that's one appointment you'll never be late for. You're not going to be late with your appointment to death. You won't be late for that. Now, unfortunately, I promise you, you'll never, ever be late. Not for that. Because He has a plan. He put that in place. And we're interfering with God's plan. I don't care if the country says it's legal or not. It's immoral to take a life of someone else. And I have equated sometime the abortion doctor as a legal hitman. That's what he is. He's being paid to go and end a life. He's being paid for it. And they use our tool of destruction to bring it about. And we say it's okay. And the fears that they talked about came into being. They said, if you cheapen life now, it'll cheapen across the board. And week after week, I find out young mothers and other people who are killing babies outside the womb because we've cheapened life so much. Then they go to prison. What? Inside the womb, you could have done it. Outside the womb, no. It's the same child, inside or outside. It's the same child. He should have life and have it to the fullest. It's not for us to determine that inside the womb you're nothing, outside the womb you have value. This God's creation has value, no matter where it is, no matter why it is. It has value. I once again want to remind us of the grace of God and those who suffer in silence. And Cheryl mentioned with it, I'm so glad that class is starting up. And I would hope that some would go into it surrendering in secret. If you've had an abortion, if you know someone who has, and you need to understand that there is forgiveness, there is healing, there is a grace of God. And I know the new generation has resources, once again, surrendering secret, getting ready to start once again real soon. If you know someone who has had an abortion, if you yourself has had one and are struggling with it, then I would say, would you please contact them? Would you go through that? Would you get some help? Would you let some people love on you and walk you through that? Because it's a traumatic experience. It is. If you need help, we want to get it to you. They would love to speak with you right after service. She'll be here. We're going to have our baptism also, and we're so grateful. And Trey, I'm so glad to have him be baptized with us, and for him to request Pastor Joe to baptize him. I'm just very grateful for that. I'm glad for it. My little buddy. So, and he's quite a baseball player also, if you haven't noticed. So he does very well.